I'm glad this wasn't the, I'm just glad this wasn't the week you had your camping. Your girl, your daughter's father camping. So this was with with Alice.
This was Mary Ellen.
Okay.
Alice is
Greg's not gonna be on time, so we might as well just recognize that.
that was 5 years ago. No, that was 16. That was 16.
Oh, look at there. Woohoo! Who is that, Eugene?
My grandkids were helping me when I campaigned.
Oh, yeah. So when is PD service?
Wednesday at 3 o'clock at First Baptist.
When's that?
No, Hillcrest.
Hillcrest?
Visitation to the one, funeral.
Okay.
I guess we thought you were in the
It's Hillcrest, Turner, are you sure?
That's what. It's it. 1 o'clock at Hillcrest, right? The funeral or is it Hillcrest? Okay. Did we need to talk?
Is there anything that we need to do for?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I've got 5 o'clock, so I'll call this work session of the Enterprise City Council to order. Let the record show that all members of the council are present. Mr. Tullis is not here for our quarterly goal-setting update. Leanne, were you going to update us on that?
Yeah, so you get me instead. This is
You
okay.
are quite all right.
Yeah. Okay, so Q2 goals, Rucker Boulevard connectivity study, that initial meeting that has been completed. The Parks and Rec maintenance facility, the building is complete. They're still working to complete the parking and the fencing. So that all should be completed in Q3. The employee benefit discussion with council over Tier 1 and insurance, those type of things was, I think, completed at the last council meeting in our work session for discussion on that. And let's see, the healthcare study, that's been completed. Meeting with AlDOT on the 167 signalization, that also has been completed. Daleville Avenue sidewalks, I know there was a couple of punch list items, Barry, but I think that's been completed now. Is that correct? The Daleville sidewalks? Oh,
For the most part, the Daleville Sidewalks project is complete. However, it has not been turned over to the city yet for maintenance purposes. They're working through the punch list on it. However, the engineer has talked to me about, we do have some, it was brought up, I think, last council meeting, about some of the kudzu growing down the hill onto the sidewalk. And since that's coming to the sidewalk off-site, the city stepped in and has done some spraying in it to help mitigate that off the sidewalk. So we've taken on that part of it, but we have not been turned over the project yet for maintenance on that sidewalk, but we're getting very close on it, sir.
don't leave. Don't leave. Don't leave. Because the next item on there is complete City Hall. So as an update on that, as you know, this Thursday is Juneteenth, so City Hall will be closed for the holiday. And then in addition to that, City Hall is going to remain closed on Friday, June 20th, to the public. Employees will be on site because we will be moving into the newly renovated portions of City Hall for the finance department, HR, revenue, water department. I think engineering may lag behind us a little bit. Barry can probably give you some more specifics on that. We will be moving this week, but do you want to talk about the general turnover as July 1 and?
Sure.
Okay.
So the goal right now is we have scheduled for court to be back in City Hall 1st of July. So the intent is right now is to get all the staff moved over this week, that'd be water, revenue, accounting, and possibly HR. HR could move over a little later if we need to, so that we can clear out the old council chambers, will be the new municipal courtroom. So when we get those areas, get the employees out into their permanent locations, then next week we will be cleaning up the courtroom and getting it back and getting the furniture and all established in the courtroom, so that we'll do that next week, so that the 1st of July, they'll be able to have court in the courtroom there at City Hall, which we're excited to have. It's looking very good. We are scrambling this last week to get all the little final things done so that the staff can move in there Thursday and Friday of this week, and that will be open to the public on Monday of next week. So when the public comes in, we would ask them to still use the same door in front of the mayor's window right there for right now. But they will still enter through there, because we're doing work on the front of the building to get that completed for the 1st of the August date, with the goal being that first week in August to have a ribbon cutting. So the project hopefully will be complete, working with the contractor as late as yesterday, to have the building completely done minus any punch list items for the 1st of August.
Awesome.
This might be you too. Start phase 5 on the street projects. So that's been completed. Do you have anything additional on that? Okay. Customer service, I will talk about that in a few minutes. Quarterly nuisance property update, that also is on the work session agenda tonight. So Mr. Hardy and Mr. Mott will be coming up to brief council on those. The PCI study update proposal, that has been given to council, that's completed. The CDBG demo grant, the plan has been submitted, so that's completed. And another one of our goals, bring 20 units from the nuisance property list to the council per quarter. Again, I think you'll be talking with Thomas and Barry again here in a couple of minutes about that. The Rucker Boulevard redevelopment study proposals, that is completed. Old Coppinville agreement to council, that is with the Enterprise City Schools for review currently. So once they have done that and come back with their comments and recommendations, then we'll have that then to give to council. And reevaluate the comprehensive plan areas. So Jonathan met with Jason from KPS last Thursday. They talked about the green space, Old Junior, connectivity, Rucker Boulevard, and my understanding that from that meeting last Thursday, they have agreed on a public meeting on July 22nd at the Rucker Boulevard Elementary. And my understanding right now is that that's scheduled to be at 5 o'clock, and that they're going to offer 2 sessions, one for business owners and one for residents. So that'll be just a general meeting for stakeholders to come and ask questions, get some information from them at that time, so that we can get some feedback on where that's going.
What were those dates?
That was July 22nd, and from what I had, it was 5 o'clock. So if that changes, I'll make sure that Jonathan updates you guys. But it should be July 22nd, Rucker Boulevard Elementary, 5 o'clock.
Okay. I guess at some point soon we need to start doing some public messaging on that.
Yes, sir.
All right, so it looks like, with the exception of the Parks and Rec maintenance facility, which I know we're pretty close on that, the Coppinville agreement and the comprehensive plan evaluation, we've got everything pretty much complete this quarter. We'll slide a few of those to the beginning of Q3.
Q3,
And
yes, sir.
so while we're talking about this, can everybody check their calendar and make sure they can be here at 4 o'clock on July 1st? That's our normal council date. Does anybody have a problem with 4 o'clock to do our quarterly extended work session?
That's fine for me.
All right,
It's good.
we will check on that. And I texted with Jonathan before this meeting, make sure he was good with that. So next meeting will be at 4 o'clock. Beverly, if we can get that advertised. All right. Any other comments or questions on the Q2 update? Looks like we're in good shape heading into Q3. All right, next item on the agenda is to review our council agenda for this evening. As y'all are all aware by the package you received for the weekend, it is rather long, mostly because of the nuisance property and dangerous buildings, which we'll talk with Ben and Ashley here in a minute about that, but we'll just go through the agenda item by item here. So first items, of course, are roll call, opening prayer and pledge of allegiance, approve the agenda, then the consent agenda, which consists of our meeting minutes from the June 3rd meeting, contract billings from Southeast Construction Company for the resurfacing Phase 5 and Poly Incorporated for the same design services, and then consulting services on our wastewater treatment plants. And we've got 3 invoices from Fine Getty, who does our state-level government affairs. We've got our April, May, and June invoices to pay their $6,250 each. Then we've got privilege of the floor and staff reports. We don't have any old business, and then most of our new business has to do with these public hearings and the passage of the corresponding resolutions for these addresses. So Ben, would you mind just bringing us up to speed on all this?
Good evening, council. The first item that you get to is actually one resolution with that list of properties. That is for an extension of the time to complete the demolitions from your round 1. You, I believe at your last meeting, received a report from the appropriate municipal official recommending it.
So which resolution is that? That's,
Here it is, Ben.
Yeah.
I can't,
Thank you.
where did you add it? You, okay.
Sorry.
All right, yeah,
Sorry, I skipped to the end. So,
well, you on mine is Tier 1 benefits to Tier 2.
actually,
Okay, so it's T. It's the one right prior to that. Do you want to tell us about that first? Am I okay, yeah, I'm looking at the blue text above, I'm sorry. All right, so we're looking at you. All right, go ahead, Ben, I'm sorry.
sorry, and I apologize for taking that out of order. But on you, that one will extend the time for demolitions from the first round. And the resolution itself is very simple, and it extends it for 120 days, which staff has said should be more than sufficient to have everything on the ground and completely shovel-ready to go. And you'll see the list of attached properties that follow.
Yep.
So on the ones before that, which are 6/17/25 through 6/17/25T, those are the ones that are for demolition this evening. And on those, and I think we can spend more time talking about this in the public hearing tonight, so I won't get
Right.
into too much detail. But I do want to tell you it's a very different story for round 2 than it was for round 1. And your staff is really to be commended, and you are to be commended because of your good work on round 1 where when we came in December, we had one property owner that had preemptively said that they wanted their property to be demolished. Tonight, it's a different story altogether. We have, of the properties that are listed for round two, the overwhelming majority of those have already contacted the city and expressed their desire to have those properties demolished and have taken advantage of the carrot rather than the stick. We have one property owner who has done the demolition themselves, but the remainder have actually reached out through staff and have said that they would like to take advantage of the CDBG funds to have their properties demolished and cleaned up and avoid having a lien on their property. It's a very smart decision. It's a very good outcome for the city. We don't, the reason that they are still listed is because there's always the possibility that the property may not be approved by the state for the grant application. So we are asking that you go ahead and order them for demolition, but those are being held administratively while those grant applications are pending. So that it's really it's an excellent result. And then one of the properties, we are still asking for it to be ordered for remediation, but we actually have reasonable expectation that there will be a remediation agreement if they can put the plan forward. They've done some cleanup. And if that happens, then staff will come back and ask for an amendment to allow that. But right now, at this time, it is still in need of demolition. So for the most part, I think we got it down to 6 that we haven't heard from or that have heard some opposition from. We'll spend a little more time on those in the hearing. But again, congratulations on a very successful second round. Very different story this time than the first time.
So just from a mechanics standpoint, we're going to open the public hearing. I'll just read that I'm going to call for a public hearing to hear and consider and act upon all objections and protests for the removal of an unsafe structure to the extent it has become a public nuisance at the following properties. I'll read that list. Then should I then ask, who's here this evening for these, just to kind of get a feel for the lay of the land?
If you'll recognize me,
Okay.
I will give a little bit of an introduction, and as a part of that, if it's acceptable, I will ask if there's anybody here and ask them to identify themselves. I think that works a little bit better if I ask at that point, because we're not asking for comment yet, but I do want it on the record who's here. Mm-hmm. And then at that point, we'll have a presentation from Mr. Mott and Mr. Hardy is in conjunction with my portion. I would then return it to the chair to ask if there are any persons who have an interest in the property who want to speak tonight. If they do, we'll hear from them. Then is there anyone else in the general public? Hear from them. And then I would like to have that opportunity to come back with a rebuttal at the end if needed.
Gotcha. So that'll be the public hearing phase.
Correct.
So pretty straightforward. Then remind me.
My preference on the resolutions is to take them up in one joint motion.
Yeah. So that motion needs to say, I move to adopt resolution 061725 through 061725
T.
No reason to read each resolution out.
There
Since
is
we'll
not.
just close the public hearing. Okay. So is everybody, I
Sounds
assume
good to
everybody's good with it. We want it right, and we want it as necessarily long as it needs to be, but no longer.
And I hope that, knock on wood, I hope that this bears out tonight, but the process should be, these should get faster every time we do them. And not because we're spending less time on them, but because we have had more interaction with the property owners ahead of time. You know, you've had an opportunity, I know with your council packets, you received it, you now have the binders as well. So all of that material's there, we'll reference it, but we're not going to spend a lot of time going through how the process works like we did the first time.
Right.
We're going to get down to the meat of it.
So, all right, so we'll have the public hearings. You'll kind of feed us what we need to do there, or feed me what we need to do there. Then we'll take up resolutions 061725 through 061725T all at once. Now, Beverly showed me before the meeting that there's a potential alternate on D. Do we need to talk about that, or that's on 0 Corbin Street?
So on that one, it was self-demolished, but it is in progress. It is not 100%. And so we would still ask that you go ahead and order it for demolition so that we can make sure it gets to 100%.
Okay.
We don't think that's actually going to be needed. Again, we're going to sit on that, give them some time to finish. Only when it's at 100%, then do we ask you to pass that alternate, which is that the no city action is needed or required.
Okay, so that'll be at a future meeting.
Correct.
All right. Any other questions? Everybody feel good about that? Anything else you think we need to know?
The only other thing I would say is that once that's finished, then we will need to open up a public hearing on those extensions before you adopt that resolution.
So that would be on, okay, yeah, so my agenda here says to call for a public hearing prior to consideration of you extending the deadline, so we're good there. That's in my notes. Okay. All right, sounds like we're good.
All right, thank you.
All right, so that took care of through you, so now we are on the review and consider resolution 061725V. Is everybody looking with me? All right, so that is Tier 1 benefits to Tier 2 plan members. So obviously, I was not here, but I know everybody here got a presentation from staff at the last meeting. Any further questions on that? Just so y'all know, I met with Allison and Leanne today and spoke with both chiefs and among other staff members about this today. So I'm completely up to speed on that. And just so I feel much better about it than I did 4 years ago. I'll say that. Yep. So now we're on review and consider resolution 061725W, which is the Act 2011-676 to increase employee contribution rates. Who's going to update us on that? Leanne or Allison? Or was it part of I know you told me about this today. Yeah. Allison and I talked about this today.
Yeah, so there's two parts of that we can adopt and we're suggesting that if we move to this, that we do adopt both acts.
Yep.
But that's why that's on there separate, because they are two separate acts.
So it's just a companion to Resolution V. So when we convert from Tier 2 to Tier 1, Tier 1 benefits, then we have the option to also increase the employee contributions at the same time.
Correct.
Okay. Is everybody good with that? Okay. Any questions? All right. Thank you, Allison. All right. Next is to modify the hiring procedures for police and fire.
Good evening. So a couple of years ago, we, of course, modified it to try to get lateral transfers certified officers and firefighters to come over. I think it would do both of us, and I've talked to Chief Davis, great justice, not only to allow them to have additional pay to come over, but also put them in the running for promotions. Example, we have a retired sergeant from Mobile. She'd be a phenomenal officer, but she'd have to wait 2 to 3 years to apply for a position that I know she can do today. So with the passing of this gives her the ability to apply for positions without waiting, and she gets experience, but there's not, she gets years for her experience, points towards promotion, but it's not as much as we still give credit to officers that have been here faithfully and have not been there anywhere else for 5 years. They get the full 5 points. This gives them half of what, lateral transfer gets half of what other people would get.
So it just gives y'all more flexibility in
Yes, sir.
not only in hiring, but now promoting.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mhm.
Everybody understand that? Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, approval of transfer of funds to the Land Bank Authority. So Ashley, did you want to speak to this? I can speak to this. This is just as y'all know, I'm on the Land Bank Authority, and which means I'll be recusing from this particular issue, but the Land Bank Authority is officially just requesting $10,000 in seed money. We've got a convention to go to. We've got a bank account. We set up a bank account already, right? Yeah. We've got a bank account set up, but there's no money in it. So there's just going to be legal bills, administrative stuff. So we're just requesting ahead of next budget season. We just need a little bit of money to perform operations. Obviously, we're still in the organizing stages. We're not doing a lot. There'll be a budget request also. So I'm happy to answer any questions y'all have on that. Everybody good with that? Okay. Like I said, I'll be recusing from that, from voting on that. So the next item is to authorize the mayor to execute a contract with P River Timber Company. Barry?
Yes, sir. So as you know, we are working to expand our grinding site at the current location, and we were going to do that work in-house with public works staff. However, kudos to Shannon Roberts. He reached out and was looking at other alternatives to get that land cleared and found a vendor that would be willing to pay us to harvest the marketable timber off of that land. So what you have before you is permission for the mayor to execute a contract with that vendor to come in and clear cut that property that we're going to turn into a grinding site. And I can't give you the exact figure on what that will be, but should be, tens of thousands of dollars that'll come back to the city. So it won't cost us anything. We'll actually get a check back for that marketable timber, and we'll still be responsible for coming in and do the grubbing on that and basically, preparing that for the grinding site. But what you have there in front of you is permission for the mayor to execute that contract.
Is everybody comfortable with that? How close are we to needing to utilize that?
We're really close. We're ready within the next couple of months to start preparing that site for the next grinding.
Okay.
Like our grinding site's nearly full.
Yeah, when I ride out there, my eyes look like it is.
We're maximizing it to 100% before we move over to the next area, but we're getting really close, sir.
Now, will it settle over time and allow us to use it again?
It's got organics only in there, so over time it will, eventually, decay and come down some, but I don't expect it to settle a lot.
Okay. All right. Any other questions on that? Next item is to authorize the mayor to execute a lease agreement with Tender Hearts Homestead for the Main Street Incubator.
Just to speak on this briefly, the small box shop is an opportunity for small businesses to be integrated into our downtown. It's a very low-risk opportunity for them to see whether or not they would survive in a brick-and-mortar store downtown, and if at the end of their 6-month lease agreement, which this one would be from July 1st to December 31st, they would see whether or not they wanted to officially become a part of our downtown in one of the vacant buildings. This year, or for this term, our Economic Vitality Committee has selected Tender Hearts Homestead. They're a local vendor at the farmers market. They're well known in the community. They offer handmade, homemade dog treats, and they're hoping to expand their business, and we think that this would be an excellent opportunity to add them to our downtown. We're just requesting authorization for mayor's signature on the lease agreement.
All right. Any questions on that? Seems pretty straightforward. All right. Thank you.
I'm the next one as well.
Oh, all right. Go ahead. So authorize the mayor to execute a trademark sublicense agreement.
So this is a document that we sign every year. It's from Main Street America, and it is just saying that we won't misuse or misappropriate the branding given by Main Street America. It allows us to use their logo on our promotions. We sign this every year, and we're requesting mayor's signature for that as well.
All right, any questions on that? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is to authorize the city engineer to issue a purchase order regarding the city hall renovations. Looks like a increase in scope.
Yes, sir. So as you know, the City Hall renovations was done through the Public Building Authority, and we have a contract with White Sasser Construction to do that work. As late as yesterday, working with the contractor, there are a couple of items that are not covered under that existing contract. And for the sake of time, the work that we need to get completed to finish that project up per the plans that we have all seen and the renderings there, the work is less than $150,000. So for the sake of time and to keep the project going and to keep it with a ribbon cutting the 1st of August, I'm requesting that you allow me to basically execute a purchase order with Wyatt Sasser Construction for items that are not currently covered under the existing contract. And we'll do that. I've talked to Leanne, and the money is available there, but I did not present this in a budget hearing for this year, so I just want to go ahead and make sure that I had permission to execute that purchase order with Wyatt Sasser, sir.
What kind of items are we talking here?
Is finishing up the front cap, the front fascia on the front of the building. Well, actually, it'll wrap around the entire building. So the zigzag pattern that you see around the top of City Hall, where we have water leaping from the roof line down under there, is creating, stalactites or stalagmites, whatever you want to see, those little pieces of calcium coming down, is to wrap that whole outside of the building all the way around for the whole side of it, and to tie those back in where we have birds right now currently nesting up in there, to make sure those things are completely tied into the building. That's work that's not currently under contract, but I'd like to go ahead and button that up. So when we're done with City Hall, we're completely done with the exterior of it.
All right, any questions, Barry, on that? Okay, next is a request to purchase equipment from the fire department. This is for some battery-powered extrication equipment.
Yes, as you were aware, we have been replacing all of our extrication equipment with the battery-powered extrication equipment. That has gone very well. This purchase was not part of the approved fiscal year. There was an approved item for a propane trainer. The price of that skyrocketed by about $15,000. We don't have that, obviously. So what I'd prefer to do, with your permission, is to put that on the back burner, and this is actually $5,000 or so less than what was approved for this.
So it's actually a reduction in the budgeted
It is.
expense. Okay.
It is, and this will, after this, we'll only need to get one more set. This will finish out all mainline engines for this equipment, which has gone over very well.
All right, any questions of Chief on this? It's really more of a budget adjustment, I guess. Okay, thanks. All right, then, as you see, we've got some board appointments here that we've discussed in previous work sessions. So that's Airport Seat 3. Looks like our plan is to nominate Ron Farrell to that, then Incubator Advisory Committee, Waller Martin, Industrial Development Board, Philip Wilkes, Library Board Seat 1, Carolyn McInnes, Seat 2, Matt Jordan, Mental Health Board, Jeremy Mitchell, Zoning Board of Adjustment, Gwen Gilly. Then we've got some musical chairs here with the supernumeraries, so that's moving Lance Phillips to Seat 1, which will vacate his supernumerary Seat 6. So that's going to leave that seat open, and we're going to move Jody Linton to that seat, supernumerary 6, and that'll vacate supernumerary 7, which, Beverly, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that's going to, we still need to come up with a supernumerary for Seat 7. So this will complete our appointments for the year, except for that one supernumerary seat. So we've done pretty good on that. We'll just need to come up with that one. So if anybody has any ideas, certainly be thinking about that and talk to those people, and we can discuss that at our next work session.
Is it a deadline for us to?
No, there's no deadline because it's supernumerary. So there's there's two supernumeraries, right? So we'll have one, but, just, it would be best for us to fill that as soon as we can come up with somebody. All right, then we'll have council member comments. Anything else? Everybody good with that agenda? All right. Let's look back in our work session.
Council, real quick, before you go further in the agenda, I just wanted to bring this to your attention. In your packets tonight, you have a copy of a potential easement that the city is hoping to put in place with KVN of Alabama. It is for 107 East Lee Street, which is on East Lee. It's right behind where Pop Art is, in that building, in that area, right before you get to, is the FBC has their center right there, and what we're trying to do is put an easement going through the back alley of basically where Pop Art and Annie's and all of that is. It to be 15 feet wide for service vehicles, so you'd be able to get back and forth through that property. We've been negotiating that with the Quattlebaums, but we just wanted to bring it to your attention because it will probably be on the next agenda so that you guys have an opportunity to review that before we get to the next agenda next time.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. Does everybody understand what's going on here? Everybody familiar with that alley? I actually looked at it today after talking with her about it, and there's a power pole right there. Like, there's no way to get a garbage truck down there, and so this seems like a good idea that staff has negotiated. So you said that'll be more than likely on the next council agenda. Okay. All right, so the next item is, which we're running about 6 minutes behind, but that's okay. We got plenty of time. Nuisance property update from Mr. Mott and Mr. Hardy.
Is that coming through your screens up there in front of you?
It is.
Great, thank you.
Council, first off, I'd just like to say thank you for allowing us to come up here and do these blight elimination program updates. It gives us not only a chance to inform you of what's going on, but also inform the public, and also gives me an opportunity to pat my inspectors on the back and anybody else who's doing this work within the city. So this is going to be our blight elimination program update for the second quarter. I just kind of want to remind you a little bit of our objectives with this blight elimination program, and that's to eliminate blight in every area of the city. We want to ensure the structural stability, integrity of our subdivisions. We also want to create a good relationship with the public, and we want to make sure that the City of Enterprise is safe, sound, and sanitary. That's something that we say in our often a lot about when it comes to buildings or when it comes to any type of property. It's the 3 S's that we go by. So the next slide is I want to share a big win that we had over the last quarter. Council, I think that you are aware of 209 Apache Drive Apartments, but let me give you a little bit of the background on this just as a refresher. So the Apache Drive Apartments is about, I want to say, 20 to 25 units or buildings that contain about 4 units per building. This is a private subdivision. These are not city streets, these are not city maintained, and we've ran into a lot of problems with making sure that these streets and parking areas are maintained with the individual ownership of these buildings. Not only are the buildings individually owned, but also the parking areas and the streets and things of that nature are as well. So in late 2022, we began the process of getting these property owners to fix these parking areas. We had to go through the court system to do so, with a ruling actually coming down that declared the parking areas and the roads a public nuisance, to the point that there was no liability for emergency services, there was no liability for mail or anything of that nature, garbage trucks and things, because they could not traverse the parking areas and the roadways. So earlier this year, there was another ruling that came down that they would have to repair the parking areas or potentially the apartment complex would be shut down. This is a picture that was supplied to us by the contractor as they started going out to the site, looking at the areas. As you can see, the damage to the parking was extensive. There were massive holes. At one point, there was basically a crater so large, it was probably about 40 foot in one direction, 10 foot in the other, and at the deepest point, about 4 feet. To the point where the neighborhood children would actually play in it after rainstorms and things of that nature. But luckily, we were able to get the property owners to do what they were supposed to do, and they showed up and they started to repair the property. They laid in they put new base, new materials, and they were eventually able to get the judgment that the nuisance had been abated. I do want to note that this was not built underneath the supervision of the city. We didn't have any plans submitted to us. This was a private subdivision. It wasn't built to any of our standards, anything of that nature, but it was repaired to a much better standard than it was currently in. This is the other side of the apartment complex because there was actually 2 roads that were involved in this. And so they went all the way from front to back, entrance to the ending, and were able to repair the entire complex. So moving past that, I would like to give you a demolition.
Can I say one thing?
Yes, sir.
It was the first, I drove by there right after you sent me the pictures. It's the first time I've seen any of the little kids in years playing out there on scooters and just out bouncing balls and everything. And it was a sight to see. I mean, it was so neat to see the kids out there playing and not in the potholes when I saw them one time.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
sorry.
I will say just briefly that going out there with our inspectors who have worked so diligently to address these issues, it was something that we took a lot of pride in. To see it go from what the first pictures was to something that was playable, that did have children out there. We had many of the property owners thank the city for their involvement in getting it repaired. And so it was definitely something that we loved to see after so much work that was poured into it. And without the council's support, we wouldn't have been able to do it.
Thank you for all your support, all of you.
So the next thing I want to share with you is our demolition initiative update. There's some numbers in here, and I'll just give you a brief synopsis of what we're doing. So within Phase 1, Phase 2, and Phase 3 of the demolition initiative, we have addressed 67 properties, and that includes 100 dwellings. So that means basically we've addressed areas that have multifamily housing on them as well. Many 8-plex, 4-plex housing complexes that were not fit to be lived in, that have been burnt out, that have been abandoned, things of that nature. We were able to address in this initiative. Of those 67 properties, 23 were mitigated by their own property owners, meaning that we spoke to them, talked to them, worked it out, and we were able to get them to either tear down the building or to begin to remodel the building and things of that nature, which is a really good for us, because for everyone that we don't have to demolish, that's another house that we have, or another house or another property that we've added back to Enterprise that people can live in, or they could potentially rehab for business purposes. Of those 67 properties, also, we've had 8 sign up for the CDBG program. And it's been a very successful endeavor to be able to go about this and be able to have the carrot of the demo grant program to be able to offer to people, and they have responded in tune. And so of the 63 properties we have remaining, 2 of them have been demolished by the City of Enterprise Public Works. I want to give a big shout out to those guys. They tore down 2 properties last week that we have been working on for a long time. And so we are very thankful for them for helping us. The other 4 from the first phase of the demo initiative are ready to be bid out. We have just got the asbestos reports back and things of that nature, so we are getting those together to be able to get those on the ground. And then the other 31 are currently in the legal process, meaning that we've either started the process with them, sent their first 20-day letter, or they're on the public hearing for tonight. So you just heard me mention about two houses that we were able to demolish through our Public Works forces, and I just kind of want to highlight them a bit, just because it has been such a long process. It has been a marathon to get here. It has not been a sprint, but luckily we have been able to do this. The picture speaks for itself. You can see how dilapidated the structure was. It was wide open to the elements. It has been like this for years, longer than I've been here. We've had people live inside these structures. We had vagrant activity inside these structures. And then as recently as us demolishing the structure, we found that people have began disposing of tires in the structure as well. Here's some more pictures of the 420 Grimes Street. As you can see, it's completely dilapidated. It had heavy termite damage. When we started this process, the awning that you see there was actually attached to the house, and it ended up collapsing by the time we got there. I wish you guys could have been out there to see it, because all he had to do was hit the corner of the house, and it fully fell in because of the structural damage of it. And I can say from my own eyes that there was vagrants who were living in the property as early as February of this year. And that puts people in a lot of risk, and being able to get these buildings down protects them, protects kids who potentially may want to play in them. And also the neighbors were coming out during the demolition, and they were thanking us for getting it down. And right next to it was actually a house or a property that we had already demolished through our demo grant. And so Grimes has seen a lot of revitalization in the sense of getting rid of these dilapidated structures from our own demo initiative, plus the grant in the recent years. As you can see, from the dilapidated structure to a pile of materials to an empty lot, we completely removed the structure from the property. You can't even tell it was there anymore. We seeded the structure, and I drove out there last week, and there's already grass coming up. I'd also like to point out that if you see the light through the trees, that's because there is a brand-new subdivision going in behind this property. It's going to have about 113 houses in it. And through our initiative and through the demo grant, we're able to clear out these types of areas that potentially will be redeveloped because people are seeing that we are doing what we should do as a city and taking care of nuisance properties, and other people are taking care of their own nuisance properties, and that allows us to continue to redevelop these areas and give us a safer environment. So this is the second house that we went through. This is 502 South Weeda Street, and I know we're kind of crunched for time, so I will go through it pretty quickly. But this was it doesn't look too bad on the outside, but this was a complete burnout on the inside of the property. It was not rehabable. There was a lot of issues with it, and so we were able to get it on the demo initiative. This is the pool that was in the backyard. Empty pools or abandoned pools, they have a lot of threats, such as just sanitary issues and mosquito breeding grounds, attractive nuisances for children, things of that nature. And we were able to accomplish getting not only the house but also the pool down, and then leaving a blank slate in a very nice neighborhood that can potentially one day be rebuilt. The neighbors on all sides were, again, outside thanking us for what we were doing, getting it down, removing any dangers that they may have from there. Of people end up getting in the house, staying in the house, or kids trying to go in the house, or vermin infestations trying to use the house to live. Next thing I would like to update you on is our community development block demolition program. So phase 1 has been submitted to ADECA for review, and that includes 9 properties and 17 dwellings. And so basically we have been able to address some of the nuisance properties that we have brought to owners' attention, and then owners have brought us properties as well that they wanted to demolish. And so we have sent those up. Our expectations for Phase 2 is to get between 8 and 12 properties, just depending on the size of the properties, what is on the individual properties, if it is an apartment building or if it's an individual house. And then I also would like just to remind everybody that the demolition grant is an at-will, first-come, first-serve program, meaning that it has to be that the owners voluntarily sign up for the grant, and it's also it's who comes first. They sign up for it, we submit it to ADECA. This isn't something that we can like really reserve or anything of that nature, but it's for anybody who is has residential property within the city limits of Enterprise. Barry, did you have any comments you want to make?
Sir, I just put a bow on this. Since I've been here, nuisance properties have been an issue for the city. And I know that this council and the mayor has put a lot of work and given us a lot of support to come up with a plan of how to do this. And I'm glad to see that we've got a plan working with the attorneys and the legal system and you to make an impact on this. I hope that y'all are as happy and that this thing is starting to pay off. And you heard the story earlier from Ben talking about what you're going to hear in round 2 compared to round 1. I don't want to steal his thunder on that, but we are making a difference. And I just want to take a minute and thank Thomas for all his hard work and his staff for what they have done. That they constantly work on this. This is not something easy that happens. It is a lot of sweat and tears to get it to this point. And I want to give him the ability tonight to give you this message because it's because of his leadership and the hard work of the engineering department and staff that we have gotten this done. And I just want to say thank you to him and thank you to you for giving us the support to get this done. So thank you.
Any questions?
I'd just like to say, I've been on the council almost 9 years, and from day one, my push was to get rid of nuisance properties. And I want to thank y'all so much for the work you've done.
Thank you, sir.
Yep, certainly been a long journey, and we continue tonight with all of these public hearings of another 21 properties tonight, right? Yeah, so.
And I know the community says thank you, especially with all the rats and snakes and, vagrants, people living out there. This will make our community much safer. So, thank you, Tyler.
Leanne, can you do this in 3 minutes? We do need a brief recess.
I can
between.
do it in way less than that.
Okay, so Leanne's here to update us on our customer service experience, something we asked for.
So again, really quickly, Barry and I already talked a little bit about the City Hall renovations and how that's going. So next Monday, the 23rd, when we open at 7:30 in the morning, Revenue and the Water Department are going to be in their new permanent locations, which will be in the main hallway of City Hall. So permitting is also going to be in that area. I don't think they're going to be there on the 23rd. They're going to be a couple of weeks behind us, so they'll still be in the farmers market for another couple of weeks. But give them a couple weeks, and then once they get over, I think all of the public-facing people that everybody really comes to City Hall to see on a regular basis, dealing with the Revenue Office, dealing with the Water Department, and dealing with engineering, are all going to be in that main public hallway at City Hall. So I think that's going to be a huge difference to them. I think it's going to make things a lot easier to take care of things, because those three departments then can work in conjunction with each other, right there next to each other, to help our citizens out and help make the process more smooth. The other side of that is Jeremy and I have been working really hard on the new cashiering. So that is going to give a lot of amazing updates, real-time updates to our customers. So again, Water Department customers, permitting, Revenue. The ones that are going to go on it first on the 23rd is going to be the Water Department. Revenue and engineering will come online a little bit after that. But when people, again, come First thing Monday morning, the water department will be on the new cashiering system, which means that if you make payments online and such, there's going to be real-time updates to that to customers' accounts. It's going to provide much more accurate real-time data for that. The IVR system, which is how they call in on the phone and make payments over the phone, that is not going to be in place until the 1st of July. So it may be down for a little bit. I'm talking with Jeremy. We'll put out some information on it. And then shortly after that, so mid to late July, we're also going to be able to roll out the new resident access. So that is going to be the on your phone app, so that you'll be able to take care of that. So all coming up in hopefully by the end of July, so that we've got them all scheduled.
All right. Thank you, Lynn. Any other questions on that? I know that was a big goal of council as we updated City Hall's physical facilities, was also to bring the customer experience into the new century along with the facilities, not just for our employees, but for our residents and customers.
Well, and I'm hopefully too, this cashiering, it's gonna make a big difference because and especially the way that the stations are set up for the water department, revenue, and engineering, is that the customers will have on their side of the partition the credit card machines and things like that. So you're not going to actually have to pass that over. It's going to help increase our payment options for ways that they can now like tap your card, and there'll be additional ways to pay that we have not had before. So I think it's going to be a huge benefit to the customers.
All right, thank you. All right, well, let's take a brief recess and we'll reconvene at 6 o'clock in our regular council meeting.
Amen.
Please join for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. All right, Council, you should have in front of you the agenda that we discussed in the work session just prior to this meeting. I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda of the meeting as submitted.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We will now consider the consent agenda. All matters listed within the consent agenda have been distributed to a member of the council for review, are considered to be routine, and will be enacted by one motion of the City Council with no separate discussion. If separate discussion is desired on an item, that item may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda by request of a member of the City Council. I now call for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as presented. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We will now have the part of the meeting called Privilege of the Floor. This is the part of the meeting where anyone in attendance tonight who wishes to address the council may do so for 3 minutes. If there is a public hearing on the agenda for the topic you are concerned with, please wait until that public hearing opens to address the council. If they choose, staff, mayor, and council will respond to your comments during the appointed times later in the meeting. Repetitive, disruptive, and disparaging comments will not be tolerated. If you're found out of order, your privileges can and will be revoked. At this time, is there anyone that wishes to address the council? All right, I see no one. We'll move on to staff reports. Are there any staff reports? Yes, sir, Chief.
Bear with me. Members of the City Council, today I rise to honor a man whose legacy is woven into the very fabric of our city, a man who has given more to Enterprise than most could in 2 lifetimes. Chief T.D. Jones served the City of Enterprise for 22 years, following 22 years of service with the City of Montgomery, 44 years and a total of unwavering, selfless service in law enforcement. He carried out this incredible duty with a smile on his face and love in his heart for the city, for his department, and for every citizen he swore to protect. Through times of tragedy and triumph alike, 9/11, the high school tornado, the loss of beloved department family members, community-shaking criminal cases, and even the unprecedented hardship of COVID-19 pandemic, Chief Jones stood firm. He never shied away. He never stepped back. He carried the weight of leadership with grace and grit, always placing the needs of others before his own. It takes a rare kind of person to choose a life of public service and law enforcement, one marked with danger, mental strain, and personal sacrifice, but not only choose that path, but to lead with humility and honor for 44 years. That makes Chief Jones a true hometown hero. He never saw his title as a badge of power, but rather a tool for service. He didn't lead for recognition. He led because he cared, deeply, honestly, completely. There was never a day you couldn't reach Chief Jones. Whether it was a question, a crisis, or simply someone in need of wisdom, he was there, always. But what truly set him apart was his heart for the people he led. He didn't just lead officers, he loved them. And perhaps nothing revealed that more than how deeply it pained him to discipline those he saw not as just colleagues, but as equals and as family. His decisions were never made lightly. They were weighed with the full weight of the department, the community, and the individual. Behind every great leader is a family that makes silent sacrifices so their loved ones can serve. Chief Jones was not only an outstanding officer, he was an incredible husband and father. We are eternally grateful to his family for sharing him with us all those years. Their support made his service possible, and their grace gave this city a chief we will never forget. Chief T.D. Jones served faithfully, honorably, and wholeheartedly. And now it is his time to rest. Chief, your legacy will live on the officers you mentored, the community you protected, and the countless lives you touched. You remain in our hearts forever. Thank you for your unconditional service. The services will be this Wednesday, tomorrow. Visitations 1 to 3, and then the funeral's right afterwards. It's at Hillcrest Baptist Church. We'll be escorting the family with a well-deserved law enforcement officers, first responders. And I think everybody'd like to see everybody there. So, thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
May I add something, please? The family will be having lunch at 11 o'clock at St. Luke Methodist Church, and any of the city staff or department heads are welcome to come and visit with the family and have lunch with them.
Thank you, sir.
Much deserved honors. Thank you, Chief. Any other staff reports? All right, we will move on to old business, of which we have none, and so that brings us to new business. The first item is a public hearing for the nuisance properties and dangerous buildings. I now call for a public hearing to hear, consider, and act upon all objections, protests, if any, for the removal of an unsafe structure to the extent that it has become a public nuisance at the following properties: 501 West Adams Street, 708 West College Street, 403 Doster Street, 0 East Lee Street, 212 Pleasure Street, 100 Dixie Drive, Apartments 29 to 36, 201 Colony Drive, Apartment 23, 114 North Carroll Street, 0 Corbin Street, 402 Geneva Highway, 105 Lowry Street, 912 Rucker Boulevard, 100 Dixie Drive, Apartments 31 to 36, 201 Colony Drive, Apartment 24, 0 Cinema Drive, 430 Delville Avenue, 700 Howell Street, 204 Pierce Street, 208 Wilkerson Street, 201 Colony Drive, Apartment 22, and 201 Colony Drive, Apartment 25. I now recognize Attorney Ben Goldman, who's going to help us with this public hearing.
Good evening, council. It's a pleasure to be here with you tonight, and particularly as we enter round 2 of your demolition program. And the reason it's a pleasure to be here for round 2 is because of the results that have happened in advance of this hearing tonight. And this is exactly how it should work, and your staff is to be commended for this. In round 2, and I think that this should only continue, I think this trend will continue to build as we move through the program. But of these, you have 11 properties that prior to tonight have been owner addressed, which is the very best possible outcome. And so of those, 501 West Adams Street, 114 North Carroll Street, 708 West College Street, 403 Doster Street, 105 Lowry Street, 204 Pierce Street, 212 Pleasure Street, 100 Dixie Drive, Apartments 29 to 36, and 100 Dixie Drive, Apartments 31 to 36, all have applications pending to take advantage of the Community Development Block Grant, the CDBG funds that are available for voluntary demolitions. This is a tremendous outcome for these property owners because it means that they will both be able to have their property cleaned up, allow the property to be shovel-ready to be put back to productive use, but also they get to control its future because there won't be a lien on the property. There are also 2 others that are controlling their outcome ultimately, and that is 0 Corbin Street. It was self-demolished, but it's in process. There's a little bit left to be done. It's not at 100%, but it is close. And 912 Rucker Boulevard, they have done some cleanup there. Still would mandate a demolition, but they are working on remediation, and we hope that we'll be able to bring that one back in the future for approval of a remediation agreement. So the majority of the properties that are set for demolition tonight, we actually receive positive responses from those owners through conversations. And that's not to say that the remainder are contested. There are just many of those. We have landlords who are absentee landlords who have not responded. And of course, again, the way the very first part of this process is there are 20-day letters that go out from the building official. That's in addition to any other prior attempts of communication over the years, conversations, letters, notices that have gone out. And not having received sufficient responses to those 20-day letters, then we've had an additional 50 to 60-day window from the issuance of the formal notices that brought us here tonight. And along those lines, you have in front of you 2 binders of evidence for tonight for each one of these properties. A copy is on file with the clerk. These materials were distributed with the council packets last week. You have the printed copies here tonight. But for each one of these, you have a copy of the 20-day letter, the recorded lis pendens, the receipt of certified mailings, the affidavit of publication, and photographs. And to the extent that there were any other materials related to that property, those have been included in the record too. So I know that you've had a chance to review that, but I would ask that you note it. At this moment, and also as a point of procedure, as we did with round 1, in just a moment we're going to see a presentation from your staff with some photographs of these properties so we can understand really the need for cleanup, but also I think the impact that this is having. I will conclude my remarks, and then owners after the presentation will have an opportunity to rise if they would like, to express any comments that they may have, and then the general public we would recommend opening up, and then I would like to reserve the right at the end to come back for some additional comment and make recommendations. But at this moment, I would like to ask if there are any persons here tonight for the public hearing who have an interest in any one of these properties that are set for public hearing, if they would please rise and identify themselves by their name and by their address. If you come to the mic, please.
Good evening, Council. My name is Seth Nunez. I'm speaking on behalf of my grandmother, Crucita Nunez, the owner of 101 Colony Drive, apartment 25.
All right. Thank you.
Do I need to?
We'll call you back up later.
Thank you.
So that was Seth Nunez, 201 Colony Drive, apartment 25.
Are there any other persons who have an interest in any of these properties that are set in this public hearing? All right, thank you. At this point, I would ask Mr. Hardy or Mr. Mott to join me for a brief presentation about the properties that are set tonight.
Council, I'm going to run you through the properties that we have up for public hearing tonight. They are going to be concurrent with your council agenda as you go through them. If you have any questions, please stop me. I will be glad to answer them. I'll give you a brief explanation of why we brought them before you today. First, we have 501 West Adams Street. The pictures speak for itself, but this building has been left vacant for several years. It is completely overgrown. It's been taken back by vegetation. Points of the building are completely open to the elements. It offers a area to be for rodent infestations and things of that nature. 114 North Carroll Street. Again, this building has been abandoned for years. It has been kept up on the outside, but the roof has begun to dilapidate, and it's completely boarded up and things of that nature. We have spoken with the owner. This owner is going to use the community development block grant and get this structure taken care of. 0 Cinema Drive. This one may look familiar. We've done work with this before, trying to get this property to the ground. As you can see, it's in worse condition than it was before. There are large holes in the roof. There are fears of structural collapse. All the doors are off of the buildings. There are very strong evidence of vagrant activities of people who will either stay in these properties or may use these properties for immoral, illicit reasons. The structure has been left in this condition for several years. And rehabilitation seems to not be on the table for this structure, and that was the reason why we're bringing it to you to hopefully abate this issue. 708 West College Street is a house that has been abandoned for a few years. It has changed ownership a couple times. It is completely gutted out on the inside. It has severe termite damage and is considered structurally unsound. Zero Corbin Street is one we touched on briefly. On the right, or depending on the side of your screen, is when we started the process, and then where it is being demolished was a picture of about a week ago or so. They're in the process of getting it all cleaned up, getting it to the ground, but that is why we're wanting to reserve the right to demolish this the rest of the way if needed. For our 430 Delville Avenue, the property has been abandoned for a couple years now. It is completely open to the elements. Everything on the inside has been stripped out of it. At one point, I believe that it was secured by the community, and then within a couple weeks, it was broken back into and left in the condition that you see with the front-facing photo. 430 Doster Street is a complete loss burnout that has been abandoned for a few years. It is open to the elements. The owner has signed it up for our community development block grant, and so hopefully this will be accepted and will be mediated within that grant. But we do want to reserve the right again to bring it through and order its demolition just in case it does get rejected through the grant. 402 Geneva Highway has been abandoned for a couple years. There hasn't been anything in there. At one point, it was completely opened. There were vagrant activities. It's basically just a shell of a building at this point. It has been completely gutted. All the electrical plumbing does not exist anymore inside the building, and the roof system is deteriorating and showing signs of dilapidation. 700 Howell Street is an older property that on the back side has began to show signs of dilapidation. If you go up to the property and you're able to view severe water damage that has started to seep into the building itself, which in my opinion has begun to make the structure structurally compromised, and we are worried that there potential collapse of this building. It has also been uninhabited for several years, and the condition of the building has been getting worse and worse as it has gone. 0 East Lee Street is an abandoned property that has basically been reclaimed by vegetation. It is located off of Highway 27 in between our Public Works Department and Publix. If you're not familiar with the location, it's about 4 feet off of the Aldott road. It is severely dilapidated. We do have fears of, structural collapse, structural integrity, things of that nature. And again, there has been times it has been broken into, and there have been vagrant activity and of the like, and people living in it and things of that nature. 105 Lowry Street has been abandoned for a long, long time. And it has been in this condition and continually gets worse every day. As the roof is completely failed, there's no roof on the property. If you actually zoom in on this picture, you can see that that there is weeds have started growing inside the house itself. The owner has taken advantage of the community development block grant, and we're hoping to have that go through, but again, we reserve the right. 204 Pierce Street, this is another house that has been abandoned for a long time. It has been emptied, is completely gutted out on the inside, so there's no electrical, there's no drywall, nothing of that nature. And so it actually went to a tax sale. We were able to get in touch with the new owners. The new owners were willing to put it on the Community Development Block Grant, and we were able to secure that. So hopefully it will go through, it will get approved, and we'll be able to mitigate the issue through the grant. 212 Pleasure Street is a very dilapidated structure. You can't tell from this picture, but if you were to look through the front door, you can actually see all the way through the house because the back of the back wall of the property is gone. It's completely collapsed. It's been abandoned for several years, and it poses a lot of risk of structural collapse, vagrancy, and things of the like. 912 Rucker Boulevard is on our list. As you can see from the pictures that I've given you, they have began to demolish some of the more severe issues with the property. And when I say severe, I mean there was a sign that was hanging on to the top. There was an awning that was falling down. There was plenty of issues like that. And they've begun to clean everything out and get it situated to hopefully enter into the remediation agreement with us at a later date. 208 Wilkerson Street is a complete burnout. It is unsecure. It at one point became a basically catch-all for the neighborhood, where many dilapidated vehicles, and not dilapidated, many inoperable vehicles were stored, and trash began to be put out at. The neighborhood did end up cleaning up some of the vehicles, only leaving one, as you can see in the picture above. But the roof system, anything else to the house has not been done. It is still unsecured. The roof system is at risk for collapse at any moment, and it just poses a big risk to the community. You'll see a duplicate of this slide. That reason is because 100 Dixie Drive is an 8-plex that is split down the middle of the breezeway. One half is owned by one owner, one half is owned by the other. They have taken advantage of our Community Development Block Grant funds and have put it on our grant, and we are awaiting a DECA approval. But again, we want to go ahead and secure the rights to demolish the property in case the approval is denied. So I want to spend a little bit of time on this structure in particular. So as you can see, we have 4 units within this one townhouse structure. And if you look at Unit 23 and you look at the second floor window, you can see the tree behind the building. You can see the daylight coming through. The reason for this is because Unit 23's roof collapsed at one point and then continually has gotten worse. The roof has collapsed completely. The back half of the building has begun to collapse. I estimate that is about 75% gone at this point, leaving only the front facade as the sole member of the structure that is holding any type of weight when it comes to the 2 structures on the side, on Unit 22 and 24. These townhouses are built structurally dependent on one another, meaning that when they were built together, they were built all as one. The framing was built together. As you can see, the front facade is all the same on the brick on the bottom, just showcasing that it was built at one time. The worries with this property is that as Unit 23 continues to deteriorate and continues to collapse in on itself, is that it poses a risk to Unit 22 and 24, that it becomes structurally compromised and becomes an issue of life safety. I will say to the council that these are 22, I believe 22, 24, and 25 are inhabited units at this time. and 23 has been abandoned for a long period of time. It actually ended up being abandoned and going through a tax sale and then becoming another individual's property. But according to the tenants of 22 and 24, there has been, ever since the latest collapse and then cleaned out, it being cleaned out by the owner, severe water damage to their property. Also, whenever they say the wind blows, they said it sounds like a tornado's outside. Just showcasing that the interior walls of these structures are not built for exterior purposes. The water damage that is being suffered and the weathering that is being suffered to these interior walls, they're not built for, and they will not withstand for a long period of time. The worry with this is total collapse of 23. And within that, the also potential danger that it poses to Unit 22, 24, and 25 if that were to occur, and to the people inside the buildings. It is the opinion of our city engineer, and he can speak to this himself, but that 23 is not structurally sound, and it has compromised the entirety of the structure.
Can you, I know that the owner of 25, who is present here tonight, or a representative on their behalf, has asked if 22, 23, and 24 can be demolished and 25 left alone. Is that technically feasible?
I'll let Barry Mon, our city engineer, answer that question.
The issue is, not to restate the facts, but this building was designed and constructed as one unit. And between each one of these units is what technically they call a party wall. It's a wall that separates the two parties of the two different buildings. The party walls in this configuration, unlike what we have downtown and Main Street, is an interior wall. So downtown, they have brick exterior walls that make party walls to separate the buildings. What you have here is you have party walls that are made of untreated 2x4s, drywall, construction that's not made for an exterior wall of the building. And while people are living in it now, my worry was, at the time when I made the statement, as you've seen news reports of condominiums and that kind of stuff, as if you ever have a collapse in the middle of a building, whether that be vertically or horizontally, it has a tendency to pull on the structure to pull it in. And the concern is that all 4 units are compromised because of one unit in the middle that is structurally unsound. So the concern of leaving one unit okay on the outside is not satisfactory, in my opinion, because the structure, the exterior walls on all 4 sides are not constructed as an exterior wall for that building. They were meant for interior walls. They're not made to withstand the structure to hold that building up as it would be, and the materials are not built and constructed for that manner. If a tenant, 25 or whoever that is, could get an architect or an engineer to submit a stamp plans, putting a seal saying that this is a design that would meet city standards, current code, and would guarantee that the structural integrity of any of these other units would be okay, I'd be glad to consider that as to remain. But as it stands right now, the only thing I can go off of is one structure was built. I do not have any construction plans to review from when it was done, and in my opinion, all 4 of those need to be brought down because of one structure in the middle of that is structurally unsound.
And even if there were a way that would be technically feasible, wouldn't that also likely increase the cost for demolition of the remaining 3 units, which there is no plan for to address?
It makes demolition a lot more complicated, if not impossible. But where do you stop demolition? The front facade, as you can see, is all brick, and it was bricked together. It's not clearly defined as each one of those units was a separate building, that the whole building itself was constructed together, the facade was together, the brick was together. Where do you stop demolition on one building and start remaining what's left there. I don't think personally, just my professional opinion, and I'm speaking on behalf of a licensed engineer with 30 years of experience, I don't know how you leave one of these units intact without taking the whole structure down together.
Council, I'd also just like to speak to the parking concerns in this area as well. As you can see from one of the pictures, there are large potholes in this area, and this area has been found and is beginning to be addressed for those issues as well. That will, if if history remains true, will constitute a public nuisance as well because of the severity of the damage to the parking areas.
Just one more comment, if I can. There's 4 units there, and I've been working on this configuration for several years. We were told, one of my staff members in the engineering department was told that there are inhabitants that live there that have not paid rent for that facility and are living rent-free for many years. Haven't heard that directly from my mouth, from my ears, but staff has been told that as well. So I don't know the configuration for this. I know we have 4 individual owners, 4 individual properties. And Thomas has talked to you about the parking lot, ingress, egress, like we've seen earlier tonight in our work session. But we believe to be true that you have inhabitants that are living in the structure, rent-free. It's being rented out, but being done rent-free.
All right. Actually, before you sit down, one quick question. The council has before them a list pendants for each and every one of the properties that's set for public hearing tonight. Those contain your specific findings as to each one of the properties. Are those findings still true as they were at the time that the list pendants was issued?
Yes, they are.
All right. And based on the current state of the properties today, for each one of these properties that is set for public hearing, are you of the opinion that they are that they constitute a public nuisance that, to the extent that they are in need of demolition?
Yes, they do.
All right. And under Alabama law, that can be from any cause. Isn't that correct?
That's correct.
All right. Thank you. Based on the information that you reviewed, it is our recommendation that the council adopt the resolutions 06-1725 through 06-1725T, ordering the demolition of each one of these properties. At this point, if it pleases the council, I think it would be appropriate for y'all to hear from the property owners and then the public, and then I would like the opportunity to present some comments in conclusion. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Nunez, would you like to come forward?
Yes, sir.
I understand you're representing
My grandmother.
your grandmother who owns 201 Colony,
Yes, sir.
apartment number 25.
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
Good evening again. So I wanted to address some concerns with y'all as far as this goes. We got the information probably a month ago, wouldn't you say? And I know my dad was first owner, passed along to my grandmother. And I recall him telling me that there are actually, from what he was told, that there are firewalls in between each of those buildings. So I don't know if that has something to do with it. I know y'all said something about the construction plans can't be seen, but I'm curious if that'd be something that we'd be able to get our hands on. I'm not too sure. Also, my grandmother has been renting this out for over 20-plus years, and this is her way of passive income other than Social Security. So I just wanted to bring that to y'all's attention, too. We were told that if this demolition goes through, that it would be under our cost. And I'm a little confused because, as we have addressed, that it's mainly apartment 23 is the main concern. So trying to figure out exactly why we can't compensate something with him as far, or her, as insurance claims or something. Is this something that we could bring up to our insurance to be able to cover? because like I said, that would be very devastating to my grandmother for years to come as far as finances go. So I just wanted to bring that to y'all's attention.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Are there any other members of the public, or are there any other property owners here, and anyone representing a property owner that was not recognized earlier? Okay, I still don't see anyone else. So is there any members of the general public that would like to address the council on any of these issues? Yes, sir. If you could come forward, please, and speak clearly into the microphone. Tell us and everyone listening your name.
My name is Keith Lewis, and it's not the current property. I got this. I don't know whether I'm supposed to wait till a little bit later.
So, yeah, we're just here to discuss these 21 properties that we listed.
Sorry.
That's okay. Is there anyone from the general public here that wants to discuss one of these 21 properties that we named earlier? All right, I don't see anyone. Mr. Goldman, or would you like to make any further comments?
You can give it just 1 second. Just in response, I would say, as for apartment 25, I would encourage the family, if they have insurance that applies, to pursue that. But I don't think that should derail the urgency of the situation that's before you and the real danger of the situation that is posed by this potential structural collapse. And I think it is not something that should be put off or postponed by this council. And I think it is equally a concern for the property owner in terms of financial devastation. If an occupant of that building were to be injured or hurt, that would truly be devastating, obviously for the individual involved, but also could prove to do further financial damage to the owners. So I think Mr. Mott has some additional comments on the structural soundness.
So the question comes in about the interior of the party walls being a firewall. I just want to make sure everybody understands, a firewall is not a structural wall. A firewall is designed to prohibit fire from transferring from one unit to the next. And they're designed, when the building was designed, the firewall was designed to handle whatever it was at the time, a transfer of fire from one to the other. The fact that Unit 23 is now compromised, roof, back wall, and actually the two party walls, I would say that the firewalls between 22 and 24 are also compromised as well. The firewalls were, they were installed to function in a certain way. The interior walls have been exposed. They've been exposed for years. When I say years, I don't know how far back, but I know for 4 years that I have been with the city that they have been exposed and water has been infiltrating those units for that long. So I would say the firewalls are not functioning as a firewall, but a firewall is not a structural wall and adds no stability to the other three units outside of Unit 23.
So the recommendation does not change. We still recommend a motion that would adopt each of these resolutions and order demolition of those properties. Does council have any questions?
So if I understand what Mr. Mott said earlier, he would, of course, while recommending we pass this tonight, he would certainly entertain, of course, it would need to happen sooner than later, would entertain the current property owners securing some stamped drawings by a professional engineer that illustrates a path forward of how they could potentially mitigate without demolition.
That is what Mr. Mott said. I would just remind the council, I know we've been through this before,
Yeah.
but I don't think these property owners have, and so
Right.
I want to say it for their benefit as well. There are 3 elements that we would be looking for. And the first is it technically feasible? The way you figure out if it's technically feasible is with that set of plans. So that's one piece of the puzzle. Most times, I would tell you that given enough time and enough money, it could be. I'm not sure in this case because of the way the building was originally constructed, with the idea that the other three buildings were a part of its structural, or 3 units were part of its structural integrity, that it is actually, given enough time and enough money, technically possible. But that would be up to a structural engineer. If you can clear that hurdle, then the other part would be, can it be done in a reasonable amount of time? So a Gantt chart that would show that this isn't going to expose the occupants. And I think they have to have a plan to deal with the occupant, to keep them safe and relocated while that work is going on, particularly because we're contemplating the removal of the other 3 units under this idea. But a Gantt chart to show it can be done in a reasonable amount of time. And then the third is that the owner has the funds on hand to complete the work in the time required. And we try to be very respectful of the information we request. There are lots of ways I can work with an owner on that. But I think the way you know how much it costs would be to take those plans and have a contractor who would show that they're ready, willing, and able with a quote to do the work. And then the owner saying, okay, this is how I'm going to fund that project. If you have those 3 elements, technically feasible, reasonable amount of time, and the ability to complete it with the funding, it'll be successful. But those would be the 3 elements we'd be looking for.
But us passing this tonight doesn't prohibit that process from moving forward.
No, sir. We will continue to engage in that conversation if they reach out.
Yep. Okay, thank you. Any other questions of Mr. Goldman, Mr. Mott, Mr. Hardy, or any of the property owners?
I have one question, just for clarity. Which of the units are inhabited by residents again?
20. So if you look at the photo, and it's in binder 1 of 2, tab G. If you look at the photos under 5, that first one shows a front-facing view. As you look to your left, it goes unit 25, and then moving to your right, 24, and to the right of that, 23, and then all the way to the right is 22. Unit 25, which the Nunez's are here about, that is occupied. Unit 24 is occupied, and we have received complaints from those occupants. Unit 23 is the one that has been total collapse. It is not occupied. Unit 22, we've also received complaints. Again, the water, the wind on both sides of that is occupied, and that is the unit, as I understand it, that they are not even being charged rent on because of its condition.
So you touched on another question I was going to ask. My next question was going to be, what are the residents, what's the feedback from the residents of these ones that's occupied? But I think you mentioned already, you said that 2 are complaining about it.
That's correct. That is correct.
Any other questions?
And we do, and just again, to remind the council and the public, there are many ways that we go about serving notice of this. One of the things that we do is that we do post each of the units on its front door, trying to give occupants notice as well as the owners. We also send mail to the property address itself, trying to get to the occupants as well as to the owners.
Yeah, I was going to point that out, that it was advertised in May, but there's you should have in your packet on tab J3, March 7th. Well, the letter's dated March 7th. Looks like it's stamped March 15th, 2025, when it was delivered. Certified mail. So, council, if you want to look at that in tab J3, certified mail, where the notice was given. And you're saying that it was also posted on the property, right? And in, I believe, here and at City Hall.
So it is sent by certified mail to the property address. It is sent by certified mail to the address last assessed for taxes, which in this case was the property address. It is sent to the, if there's a record on the deed, it's sent there. So this also went to a Chickasaw Road address. It is sent to any lien holders or mortgagees. We weren't aware of one in this, on Unit 25 in particular. And then, as you were saying, it is also posted on the property. It is posted in 3 public places around the city, which are City Hall, the county courthouse, and at the Civic Center. And then it is also run for a series of publication in the Enterprise Ledger. And that proof of publication, the proof of mailing is there under tab 3. The proof of publication is under tab 4.
Yep. Looks like it was published May 3rd, May 10th, May 17th, and May 24th. Okay. Any other questions? Of course, this covers all properties, not just apartment 25.
More than the 20 days.
Mr. Nunez would like to address the council again.
Yes, sir. I have one more question. I was curious on what the time frame was that these buildings were looking at getting demoed?
Okay, I would defer to staff and Mr. Goldman on that.
Yes.
If the council orders them for demolition, they would be demolished no sooner than 20 days from tonight, and unless extended no longer than 180.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nunez. All right, anything else? All right, hearing no other questions and seeing no other people that wish to address the council, I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
All right, with motion and second to close the public hearing. Any discussion? All those in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, the public hearing is now closed, and I will entertain a motion to adopt resolutions 061725 through resolution 061725T.
I make a motion to adopt resolution 061725 through resolution 061725T.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution 061725 through 061725T. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We will now have a public hearing and consideration of resolution 061725U, which is to extend the deadline for demolition. I now call for a public hearing prior to consideration of resolution 061725U, extending the deadline for the demolition of structures as described in the report of recommendation of extension for time for demolition for a period of 120 days, making the deadline October 15th, 2025. This public hearing is now open. I'll recognize Attorney Ben Goldman to explain the process here.
Thank you. So the appropriate municipal official filed a report with the council at your last meeting that advised of a need to extend the time for demolition from the Phase 1 properties, except for one that has been demolished. Mr. Lewis's 4 that are, there's a notice of appeal, and then Miss Danielle Moore's, which you removed, you amended your resolution ordering its demolition in March. The remainder of the ones that were ordered for demolition in December, they're asking for 120 additional days to complete those demolitions.
All right, so this being a public hearing, Mr. Lewis, I know you want to address the council. Before you come forward, is there anybody else that wishes to address the council, whether they're an interested or disinterested party, member of the public, other than Mr. Lewis? Anybody else? All right, I see no one. Mr. Lewis, you want to address the council now?
Yeah, I'm Keith Lewis. I actually got this thing about the 120 days, so we're going to be extending it. I'm sorry.
The question was, would there be an extension? And the answer is yes.
Okay.
On the properties. So they're either, we don't demolish a property while it's on appeal. That's an automatic extension under the ordinance. Any others of yours that were not appealed, we are asking for 120 additional days to complete that demolition. It doesn't, and just to maybe one other point of clarification, just, I don't know if this is helpful, but this doesn't change any of the council's previous findings. You've already ordered these for demolition. We're not enlarging that or reducing it. It's just for time.
Okay, so what we're saying is that I can't come up here with proof that I did not get the notice that they were saying that I was supposed to get? And we can not tear down my building because I didn't get the...
So this is a public hearing. We're considering extending the demolition period that the city has to extend it. So if you're here...
So I have to go through that appeal process in order to show them this?
I would defer to Mr. Goldman on that, but that would be my understanding. Be my understanding that this wouldn't be that
If I
forum.
didn't get any of the stuff that you guys had, this right here shows that it should have come back to you. This right here is where you sent it. The only reason I got this is because the post lady actually took it to my property manager, and that's how I got any of this. But this, any correspondence that you guys sent should have come back to you guys. It didn't come to me. So I had no idea when they were saying that I had 60 days or whatever, that I could have reached out to them to do something with the building and work with them. I didn't know about it, so I couldn't do it.
So the only question before the council tonight is whether or not they should extend the time to complete the demolitions, not whether the demolition should occur.
Okay.
And I would like to say, though, for the benefit of the public and really defense of the process, I can't say enough, and I know all of you recall that Mr. Lewis received actual notice of the hearings, and he was here not only December 17th at the meeting that was set for the purpose with his attorney, but he returned again on January 7th of this year for a second meeting with his attorney. There were conversations in advance. There was a proposal that was not accepted. So in this case, I'm not worried. I have zero concerns from a due process or a notice perspective, because not only were all the notices attempted as required by law, it wasn't just sufficient notice, it was actual notice, and it had its intended effect, and Mr. Lewis participating in that process.
Yep.
So.
So, Mr. Lewis, would you like to address us in regards to the extension of the deadline for demolition?
I think he said that when you do an appeal, that it automatically extends, so I guess I'll have to go with that route. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Would anybody else wish to address the council regarding the extension of a deadline for demolition regarding these properties? All right, seeing no one, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Make a motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. Any further discussion? All those in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I will now entertain a motion to adopt Resolution 061725U.
Move to adopt Resolution 161725U.
For clarification, would that be 0617?
061725U, I'm sorry.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to adopt Resolution 061725U. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll now move to review and consider Resolution 061725V, which regarding Tier 1 benefits to Tier 2 plan members. I introduce and call for consideration of Resolution 061725V, providing Tier 1 benefits to Tier 2 plan members who participate in the employees' retirement systems of Alabama. Do I hear a motion?
I'm privileged and honored to move to adopt Resolution 061725V.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adopt Resolution 061725V. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll now move to review and consider Resolution 061725W, Act 2011-676, an increase of employee contribution rates. I introduce and call for consideration of Resolution 061725W, electing to come under the provisions of Act 2011-676 of the regular session of the 2011 legislature to increase employee contribution rates as specified by Act for members of the Employees Retirement System of Alabama. Do I hear a motion?
Move to adopt Resolution 061725W.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to adopt Resolution 061725W. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll now move to review and consider Resolution 061725X to modify hiring procedures for police and fire. I introduce and call for consideration of Resolution 061725X, providing to approve modifications in the hiring procedures for police officers and firefighters in order to attract qualified applicants. The resolution provides for adjustments in pay for newly hired officers and firefighters and is specifically aimed at attracting experienced applicants which may work for other departments not necessarily in the state. Do I hear a motion?
Move to adopt Resolution 061725X.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt Resolution 061725X. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll now move to approval of transfer of funds to the Land Bank Authority. I call for a motion to approve the transfer of funds in the amount of $10,000 from the City of Enterprise to the Enterprise Land Bank Authority to assist with legal fees and other items related to the National Land Bank Network. Do I hear a motion?
Move to approve the transfer of funds as requested.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the transfer of funds as requested. As discussed earlier, I'm going to, because I'm on the Land Bank Authority, so I'm going to be recusing from this vote. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll now consider authorizing the mayor to execute the contract with P River Timber Company Incorporated regarding the grinding site. I call for a motion to authorize the mayor to execute a contract with P River Timber Company Incorporated to clear the timber from the city's grinding site and pay the city for the marketable timber. Do I hear a motion?
I move to authorize the mayor to execute the contract as submitted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to authorize the mayor to execute the contract as submitted. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll now consider authorizing the mayor to execute a lease agreement with Tender Hearts Homestead LLC for the Main Street Incubator. I call for a motion to authorize the mayor to execute an agreement between the City of Enterprise and Tender Hearts Homestead LLC for the lease of the Main Street Incubator located at 123 South Main Street per the terms of the lease agreement. Do I hear a motion?
Move to authorize the mayor to execute the agreement as submitted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to authorize the mayor to execute the lease agreement as submitted. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We now consider authorizing the mayor to execute a trademark sublicense agreement with Main Street, Alabama. I call for a motion to authorize the mayor to execute a trademark sublicense agreement with Main Street, Alabama, to provide Main Street Enterprise with certain rights to use the National Main Street Center Incorporated's name and trademarks. Do I hear a motion?
Move to authorize the mayor to execute the agreement as submitted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to authorize the mayor to execute the agreement as submitted. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We now consider authorizing the city engineer to issue purchase order for City Hall renovations. I call for a motion to authorize the city engineer to issue a purchase order to Wyatt Sasser Construction for additional work at City Hall not to exceed $150,000. Do I hear a motion?
I move to authorize the city engineer to issue the purchase order as requested.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to authorize the city engineer to issue the purchase order as requested. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We now consider a request permission to purchase equipment from the fire department. I introduce and call for consideration of a request from Fire Chief Christopher Davis to purchase one set of battery-powered extrication equipment, including a spreader, cutter, ram, mounting brackets, and shipping from Coastal Rescue Solutions at a total cost of $30,978. Do I hear a motion?
Move to approve the purchase request as submitted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the purchase request as submitted. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We now consider a board appointment for the Airport Authority, Seat 3. I call for nominations to the Airport Authority, Seat 3, for a 6-year term beginning July 1st, 2025, and ending June 30th, 2031. Do I hear any nominations?
I nominate and to reappoint Ron Farrell to the Airport Authority, Seat 3.
Are there any other nominations? All right, we'll close those nominations, and I'll entertain a motion to reappoint Ron Farrell to the Airport Authority, Seat 3.
I move to reappoint Ron Farrell to the Airport Authority, Seat 3.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to reappoint Ron Farrell to the Airport Authority, Seat 3. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll now consider a board appointment for the Incubator Advisory Committee, Seat 2. I call for nominations to the Incubator Advisory Committee, Seat 2, to fill the unexpired term of Neil Brown, ending June 30th, 2027. Do I hear any nominations?
I'd like to nominate Waller Martin Jr. to the Incubator Advisory Committee, Seat 2.
Any other nominations? All right, hearing none, we'll close the nominations, and I'll entertain a motion to appoint Waller Martin Jr. to the Incubator Advisory Committee, Seat 2.
I make a motion to appoint Waller Martin Jr. to the Incubator Advisory Committee, Seat 2.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to appoint Waller Martin Jr. to the Incubator Advisory Committee. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll now consider board appointment for the Industrial Development Board, Seat 4. I call for nominations to the Industrial Development Board, Seat 4, for a 6-year term beginning July 1st, 2025, and ending June 30th, 2031. Do I hear any nominations?
I nominate Philip Wilkes to the Industrial Development Board, Seat 4.
All right. Any other nominations? Hearing none, we'll close nominations. I'll entertain a motion to reappoint Philip Wilkes to the Industrial Development Board, Seat 4.
I move to reappoint Philip Wilkes to the Industrial Development Board, Seat 4.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to reappoint Philip Wilkes to the Industrial Development Board, Seat 4. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll now consider a board appointment for Library Board, Seat 1. I call for nominations to the Enterprise Library Board, Seat 1, for a 4-year term beginning July 1, 2025, and ending June 30th, 2029. Do I hear any nominations?
I nominate Carolyn McInnes to the Enterprise Library Board, Seat 1.
Any other nominations? Hearing none, we'll close the nominations, and I'll entertain a motion to reappoint Carolyn McInnes to Enterprise Library Board, Seat 1.
I move to reappoint Carolyn McInnes to the Enterprise Library Board, Seat 1.
Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to reappoint Carolyn McInnes, Enterprise Library Board, seat 1. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll now consider board appointment for Library Board, seat 2. I call for nominations to Enterprise Library Board, seat 2, for a 4-year term beginning July 1, 2025, and ending June 30th, 2029. Do I hear any nominations?
Nominate Matt Jordan to the Enterprise Library Board, seat 2.
Second.
We have a nomination for Matt Jordan. Any other nominations? All right, we'll close that, and I'll entertain a motion to appoint Matt Jordan to Enterprise Library Board, seat 2.
I make a motion to appoint Matt Jordan to the Enterprise Library Board, seat 2.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to appoint Matt Jordan. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll now consider a board appointment for the Mental Health Board, seat 3. I call for nominations to the Mental Health Board, seat 3, for a 6-year term beginning July 1, 2025, and ending June 30th, 2031. Do I hear any nominations?
I nominate Jeremy Mitchell to the Mental Health Board, seat 3.
All right, any other nominations? We'll close nominations and entertain a motion to appoint Jeremy Mitchell to the Mental Health Board, seat 3.
I make a motion that we appoint Jeremy Mitchell to the Mental Health Board, seat 3.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to appoint Jeremy Mitchell. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll now consider a board appointment for the Zoning Board of Adjustment, seat 2. I call for nominations to the Zoning Board of Adjustment, seat 2, for a 3-year term beginning July 1, 2025, and ending June 30th, 2028. Do I hear any nominations?
I nominate Gwen Gilly to the Zoning Board of Adjustment, seat 2.
Second.
Any other nominations? We'll close the nominations, and I'll entertain a motion to reappoint Gwen Gilly to the Zoning Board of Adjustment, seat 2.
I move to reappoint Gwen Gilly to the Zoning Board of Adjustment, seat 2.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to reappoint Gwen Gilly. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We will now consider a motion to move supernumerary to a regular board member, Zoning Board of Adjustment, seat 1. I call for a motion to move Lance Phillips to the Zoning Board of Adjustment, seat 1, for a 3-year term beginning July 1st, 2025, and ending June 30th, 2028, and vacate his appointment as supernumerary 6 beginning July 1st, 2025. Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion to move Lance Phillips to the Zoning Board of Adjustment, seat 1, for a 3-year term beginning July 1st, 2025, and ending June 30th, 2028, and vacate his appointment as supernumerary 6 beginning July 1st, 2025.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to move Lance Phillips to Zoning Board of Adjustment, seat 1, and vacate supernumerary 6. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll now consider a motion to move supernumerary 7 to supernumerary 6 for the Zoning Board of Adjustment. I call for a motion to move Jody Linton to supernumerary 6 of the Zoning Board of Adjustment to fill the unexpired term ending June 30th, 2027, and vacate his appointment as supernumerary 7 beginning July 1st, 2025. Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion to move Jody Linden to supernumerary 6 of the Zoning Board of Adjustments to fill the unexpired term ending June 30th, 2027, and vacate his appointment as supernumerary 7 beginning July 1, 2025.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to move Jody Linton from supernumerary 6 to supernumerary 7. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Ms. Rich, do you have any comments for us this evening?
Ooh, so much to unpack for this meeting tonight, but these are the meetings that I really enjoy because we get to see the work that's being put in to make things prettier and better in our communities. I spoke with a resident that is here tonight. He didn't take advantage of privilege of the floor, but Mr. Roberts, if you could meet with me just for a moment after council meeting to discuss some issues with the resident regarding some tire dumping, okay? And also, I certainly want to pay respect to our former chief, T.D. Jones, and certainly extend my deepest condolences to his family. And I also want to just thank Mr. Hardy and Mr. Mott and their staff and everyone involved with our blight elimination. Of all those properties that we passed for demolition tonight, approximately half of them are in my district. And so when I was appointed to this seat in 2017, that's one of the very first things that I got calls about, was some of those very homes that were shown on your slides that you saw. So I'm very excited, very thrilled, and just happy that we can ride in some of those areas and see some slight improvements. It might not appear much to some, but believe me, every little improvement matters. So thank everyone for being patient with us tonight and coming.
Mr. Goolsby?
I'd like to thank Chief Moore for his comments about our former Chief T.D. Jones. Very appropriate. I'd like to thank all the people who agreed to serve on these various board appointments tonight. Thank everyone for coming. Have a good evening.
Mr. Paget?
Thank all of you for coming. Also like to say thank you to all those that have worked so hard to put these very thick binders together of all this information, because that represents an awful lot of work that's happened to prepare for this night. We get to sit up here for an hour and vote yes or no, but there's a tremendous amount of work that's gone on for months and months and months to accomplish some very significant achievements that I feel like is going to really enhance our city by getting rid of some of these blighted properties. So thank all of you for all that very hard work you've done, and also to our city clerk for all the work she has to do to get not only all this, but the election on the way, all that she's doing. And so thank all of you for coming, and have a good evening.
Mr. Johnson?
Yeah, thank you, everyone, for coming and hanging in there. And thank you for everyone that's watching in the community online. Yeah, tonight was awesome to see our civic government at work. I've talked to a few folks today, and I stole this phrase from somebody years ago. It's, not ask what your city can do for you, but what you can do for your city. And we see that tonight with all these folks that have volunteered to be on the board. When I see things on Facebook, I ask them, I say, come on down, we could use your help. Volunteer to be on the board or a commission. Chief Moore, thank you so very much for that message about TD. And I want to send out my prayers to Heather and the family. We are thinking of you all at this time. And Chief Jones, I know you're watching over us, but thank you for your service to our city. And I can't thank the city employees enough for all that they do. Every time I send out a little text, hey, how about this intersection? How about this going? I always get a reply back really quick. Taking care of some yards. I've got a neighbor we're helping with. Don't want to get the code enforcer involved, but through a little work through the department heads and the folks, I can make it happen. Get them to help us out within the city. And all these properties, it just makes it that much safer in our community. It's not using for criminal purposes, and our kids are safe not going into those places, because we have seen that in some of the areas where the young ones are going in there, and we don't need that to happen. God forbid something happens to one of our young child. But again, thank you. God bless everyone, and thank you. Have a good night.
All right, so before I give my comments, the mayor did ask me, in his absence, the mayor and our city administrator, Jonathan Tullis, are at a previously planned trip to Washington, D.C. on city business. So the mayor asked me to read his statement, which I know he's released to the press and put on social media. But I'm gonna read this again tonight. So, I was deeply saddened to learn of the passing of former police chief T.D. Jones. Chief Jones dedicated more than 40 years of his life to law enforcement, including over 2 decades of faithful service to the city of Enterprise. He was a steady leader for our police department, a devoted public servant, and above all, a family man who cared deeply about this community. His impact will be felt for years to come, and he will be greatly missed by all who knew and served alongside him. On behalf of the City of Enterprise, I extend my heartfelt condolences to his family, friends, and fellow officers during this difficult time. Those are the words of our mayor, Mayor Bill Cooper. So I don't think I could say it any better than Mayor Cooper, and certainly Chief Moore. Thank you for those words. I certainly am proud to have been able to call T.D. Jones my friend and my colleague. Enjoyed working with him, getting to know him, and I know he will be sorely missed. So just a reminder, those the visitations tomorrow, 1 to 3 o'clock at Hillcrest, and 3 o'clock funeral, right, Chief Moore? Yeah, so that's 1 to 3 visitation, 3 o'clock funeral, Hillcrest Baptist Church. So I know we've been here a while, so I'll try to make my. Did you have something
I'm
else?
sorry.
No, go ahead.
I got one. I didn't have my glasses on. I don't know if you noticed, but on the side here, we had our Enterprise Fire Department, several of the folks there, and several of the Enterprise Police Department standing in the back. I want to thank them for coming tonight to watch what we did for the Tier 1. It's great timing, and I want to thank them very much. And I know there are shifts watching this on TV, because the last council meeting, I was told that they were watching everything that we did. So again, thank you to our firefighters and our police officers for showing their support out here tonight. Thank you, Chief, both chiefs. Sorry.
Yeah, so I'll try to close this up. I know everybody's getting tired and certainly didn't come to listen to me speak, but yeah, I would like to address one thing Mr. Nunez spoke about tonight, about the loss of funds, and I just want to bring up that this council does not take lightly that some of these things we do. I mean, whether it's dilapidated structures, tearing down and demolishing buildings, almost everything we do has unintended consequences. We recognize that. We don't take that lightly. As evidenced by the amount of information that we've requested, that state law requires, we do not take these decisions lightly. Obviously, this evening we have to choose to put the safety of our residents, above some of these unintended consequences. So I just wanted to outline that. The other thing is, and thank you, Scotty, for bringing up the Tier 1. It's no secret that that came up, I think, a little over 4 years ago. I was opposed to it then for multiple reasons. And I told y'all in the work session that I feel much better about it now for 2 reasons. One, we've got much more information about it. I felt there was an information deficit, but the bigger reason I feel good about it is because the financial stability that the city now enjoys. Because I don't want this to be lost on us. This is expensive. In 2019, we had an $8 million deficit, or an unfunded liability is what they call it, in our retirement fund. Now, talking with Leanne this afternoon, we think that's more than doubled. So, and going back to Tier 1 benefits is going to accelerate that unfunded liability. So, just want everybody to keep their eye on that ball, that we've got to start prioritizing keeping that unfunded liability under control, that there will be, this will be done at the expense of other projects. Now, I certainly wouldn't have voted for it if I didn't think it was worth it. I certainly think that we've got to continue, as I think we have tried very hard over the last several years, to take better care of certainly our first responders, but all of our employees. So, like I said, feel good about the financial shape of the city. I think we can afford this, so we should do it, which is why I think it passed unanimously this time. So that's all I'll say about that. We stand adjourned until 4 o'clock Tuesday, July 1st, 2025. There's a correction to the agenda there. We'll be meeting at 4 o'clock Tuesday, July 21st in work session, immediately followed at 6 o'clock by our regular meeting. We will see you then. Stay safe.
Shannon, can you come just a minute?
stop it to get